listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Hey folks, welcome to the Beans and Dice podcast. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
And I'm William.
And I'm Mike.
And we are a podcast about how we game. Thanks for joining us on our inaugural edition of the podcast of the show, where we're going to take time, not on the live call-in show that we do every Thursday night, live call-in show. It's kind of like Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern.
This is the after show.
Yeah, this is the after show, the after party, and we're going to talk about and get really in depth on the games that we've played, games we've been buying, any game news topics.
Yep.
We'll talk about any other geeky type things that we've been up to, and we'll get into discussion about like modeling or even painting of miniatures or any other board game accessories that we've been into.
Yeah.
Kind of really give you all folks at home a great idea of who we are, how we game,
What we do, yeah.
and what we've been up to lately.
Yep.
Where the call-in show has really turned into what we want it to be, a full-fledged call-in show.
Yeah.
To the point where we're really not having an opportunity to talk about what we're doing, because we're taking phone calls from folks like you all who are listening that tell us about what you're doing.
Filling up the show, yep.
And Rob and I felt like we just never had an opportunity to talk about what we've been up to. So this is going to be that format.
Yep.
For all of y'all to get into. So we'll get into our first topic, which is going to be catching everybody up on games we've been playing.
Yep. And so we usually touch a little bit on that during the call-in show, but we want to be able to spend a little bit more time just kind of talk about opinions and things like that. We get interrupted with calls, which is a great thing in the call-in show, but we'll use this time to get a little bit more discussion-wise about what we think about games and maybe what happened in the game. If there was a stand-up moment or an exciting moment in the game, we can talk about that a little bit and just get a little more in-depth. So,
and one game, I think you're going to start us off with, that has so many stand-up moments, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. My Euros. So everybody loves those stand-up Euro moments. But no, I want to talk about a game. I'm going to lead off with one that I think all of us except for William have played now. So the three of us, Mike, I, and Carlos, have played multiple times. And I just recently gave Mike a little bit of a refresher because it had been a little while since he played. But one of my all-time favorites, a BGG top 10 rated game, Brass Birmingham. And that's just, it's a game, and I know we were talking a little bit on the call-in show. I mentioned with Mike that during the game, he had that moment, which I think every time I've played it, where there's just a moment. It's usually about 2/3 of the way into the game. You're about halfway through that second era, and you're just kind of looking at all the little things on the board, and you're doing in that game. You've got to think ahead. I mean, you always have to be thinking a couple of steps ahead of how am I going to do this? How am I going to connect that to flip that and make all that stuff happen? And he had that moment where he said out loud, he's like, "Man, this is a good game," and just kind of shook his head. And I was like, I do that every time I play that game. It's like I always just kind of catch myself staring at the board, and that thought goes through my head. Man, this is such a good game. So it's definitely a Euro game. I mean, it's not no stand-up moments. Usually, there's no rolling of any dice or pulling a secret card that's gonna set off a chain of events that is epic. But it's one of those games you just got to think about it. You got to be ready for it. You gotta plan your network. You got to plan where you're going. You've got a little bit of blocking and stuff. If you want to mess with somebody and you see that somebody's trying to do something, there's opportunities to get in there and mess with people. But it is a fairly solitaire game. I'd say you're spending a lot of quiet moments, kind of looking at the cards in your hand, looking at the little player board, trying to figure out, all right, how am I going to get these chits out? How am I going to get them flipped to get the points? But I mean, it's just such a good game. It's not overly complicated. I think that's something, Carlos, you and I have talked about quite a bit. Is that at the beginning we looked at the rating and it was considered kind of a slightly heavier game. And I know you said from the beginning that you didn't ever think it was really all that heavy, and I disagreed with you. I think I am coming a little more towards your side, that now that I've played it 3 or 4 times, the mechanics are kind of melting away a bit, but where it really is exciting is in that strategy, the really having to plan out, again, thinking 2 or 3 turns ahead. Anybody can play it once you learn the basic mechanics. There's a few tricky little things about it, but once you learn those mechanics, it's not overly difficult to play. There's only a handful of things you can do. You're limited by what's in your hand of cards and what you draw as you go through the game, but it's really got it's in your head. A lot of it's just really trying to figure out, chain things together, optimize your actions. If I can flip 3 tiles on one cell action, I mean, that's your biggest stand-up moment. It's like, boom, I just made that happen. I just optimized. I got to do 3 things for the cost of 1. fun. So I think that's the biggest stand-up moment you have in that game. So as a Euro guy, that's exciting for me. But and you can tell I'm smiling and laughing about it. So
and there's cubes.
Oh, and there's cubes. Oh, yeah. Well, let's not underscore that. And there's multicolored cubes, which is even better. So I get to play little black cubes and little gold cubes and move them around. So yeah, it's a great game. But
he's so excited about this game that we're asking him not to stand up.
Stand up moment.
Because the excitement is peaking.
Want to keep it under the table,
right?
Yeah.
No, but he's right. Robert's right. When it comes to Brass, like one of the most exciting moments in Brass for me is when you're able to combo up a cell, right, of multiple items and watch your income rise, and
you get all those bumps on the income track.
Like I am a financial god.
Yeah. and again, I played 3 times in the. I just was looking at BGG or my plays. It's been in about 2.5 weeks. I've played it 3 times with 3 different groups of people. Mike and I played solo up until about 1 a.m. this morning. So last night into this morning.
Last night?
Yeah.
This morning
was up super early, super late, however you want to look at it.
We finished right around like 1:45, I think, in the morning.
And Mike hadn't played in a while, and that game ended up, I jumped out to an early lead, but Mike trailed me down in the second era, and it ended up being, I think it was a 7-point difference. I won by 7 at the end, which was a lot tighter than I thought it was going to be. And there was a point when we were doing the in-game scoring where Mike got a ton of points and went shooting by me, and I had almost given up. I was like, oh, you've got it. And then we did my final scoring, and I just snuck past him. So even in a game like that where Mike was getting re-familiar with the strategy in it, and I came in with some ideas already and knew what I was going to do, it still was a tight game. And so I don't think I've seen too many games of that be a blowout. Sometimes if you're playing with 4, somebody may be behind. Yeah, somebody's usually in the dust, but the top 2 or 3 are usually within a handful of points of each other. So.
No, we played, you and I played 23rd June.
Okay, yeah.
That would have been a Thursday.
Is that with Mitchell?
With Mitchell.
Yep, okay, from Louisiana, yep.
It actually may have been the Wednesday before. Anyway, we played,
Thursday, yeah.
And you and I ended up you had 121, I had 120.
Yeah, it was a 1-point game.
And I was very low in the income track for the major majority of the game. Like I was making no money each round at the beginning of the round.
Yeah, Mike was killing me on income in this one. Yeah, you jumped way up that track. So,
but to think that how far apart were you points wise?
7 points at the end
between you and Michael.
Yeah.
So I mean, that says a lot about the game that you can do different strategies. Yeah. That at the end arc into a good, almost successful thing.
That's one of the things in that game. I think a first-time player always wants to push that income. Early in the game, the income's nice because you don't have to take those loans, you don't have to take the reductions in income. But late game, you have to change strategy. Late game, you're trying to find the points, and the income doesn't matter so much.
Right.
So
making those connections and
getting those links for the connections.
Tiles flipped
But yeah, I think every time I look, it's always in the top 10 on BGG. I think it's currently like number 6 on the BGG countdown, and I think deservedly so. I don't know.
Overall, right now it's number 3.
Oh, number 3
on
overall.
BGG.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But within strategy games, it is number 2.
Wow.
And all of that is well deserved because I think
so.
Every time we play that game, we can all agree that we say, why aren't we playing this more?
Yeah.
Like, how much garbage else are we playing that just doesn't feel as good as this? Why am I playing anything else?
And it can run a bit long. I know Mike and I was about 2.5 hours. I think he said for 2-player. Although we play 3 and 4 players in about 3 hours, so it's not. It doesn't go that much longer by adding a player.
And you had to refresh a lot in my mind. So I mean, it was almost like a relearning with me being familiar with it. I think if it was just 2 of us playing now, we could easily finish in under 2 hours.
Oh yeah, for sure. Think. Yeah, so that's the one thing for some people that probably runs a little long, a 2-player game going 2 hours ish. No,
because it doesn't feel it. Like you get to the end and you're like, wait, are we done? No, we can't be at the end. Like my financial plan's not executed yet, and I pull out my PowerPoint with my 5-year plan. My business strategy.
Well, that's what I couldn't believe.
50-year plan.
Last night we talked about. I told you I needed to be done. We were talking about what game to play, and I was like, I can hang out to probably 11:30. I said, as long as we're done by midnight, I'm on the road. I looked down at my watch or my clock. my phone, and it was like 12:30, and I was like, "Holy mackerel, we're still got a little ways to go in this game, and it's 12:30 already." So, but yeah, it doesn't feel like it. Like you say, that was the point. It felt like we'd been there an hour, and it had been almost 2 hours. So
that is such a great game.
Yeah, good game. But yeah, I would just say deservedly so. Number 3, BGG. I don't know if it's my favorite game of all time, but it's in my top 5, no doubt.
Yeah, the theme can be a little dry.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
right. There's not as excited as maybe terraforming a faraway planet.
Oh yeah,
right. I get it.
Yeah,
but it just those
better
decisions.
artwork.
Yeah.
No, it's better artwork.
Everything better artwork than that.
The little terraforming Mars,
little snippet of terraforming Mars.
But that's Brass Birmingham for me. So I don't know, Mike. What's something you've been playing?
Tyrants of the Underdark.
Oh, another great game, underrated game.
Yes. So for those that aren't familiar, it's kind of having this. People are saying it's having like this resurgence, but it's like a deck builder with zone control and moving in on other people's territory, and promoting your cards to get points at the end, and it's just it does everything so well, and it scales very well because the size of the map will scale with the number of players, and the fact that you can swap in and out, not really modules, but I guess, card types, you can swap those in and out, and makes it different every time you play. And it's just such a good game. I played a 3-player game with Dan and my oldest son, Matthew, and it was Matthew's first time playing, and he's played deck builders, and he does not, I think a lot of people started out with DC Deck Builder as possibly their first deck builder game that they've, kind of introduced them to the genre, or the other one, which I can't remember the name of. Dominion. Thank you very much. Yep. And I kind of grew out of DC just because there's a few cards that make the game very swingy, and it can break the game early in the game if they come out. And Matthew felt the same way. Like, we just don't ever feel the need to play that anymore. And I told him, I was like, you got to try this game, Tyrants. And, Dan kind of refreshed my mind and taught Matthew how to play. And when the game was over, and Matthew either came in first or second, I can't remember, but the game was over. He's like, man, I really like this game. I would play this game anytime anybody suggested to play it. So, yeah, I don't want to. I know we got more games to go around, but they're going to reissue the game.
I was going to mention that. Yeah,
they're going to reissue it. I think it comes out in August of if you're listening, years from now. But this was August 2021.
2021,
I think is when it's going to come out. The only thing that I'm not crazy about is the older game. It had like a longer box shape to it, and it had minis,
right?
Like little figures and shields. And with the new game that they're releasing, it's going to include the 2 quote unquote expansions that weren't available in the original game.
Extra decks, yeah.
Right, but from what I understand, everything is going to be chits now. It's just going to be tokens and stuff. So
tokens and cubes. So me personally, I would rather have the little figures because, like when you infiltrate an area with your spy, you kind of get that feeling, and the spy, really looks the part. So the older game is a little hard to find under $100 now, because I think people are realizing the kind of game that they have and the money it's worth. But I would highly, highly recommend. And I think the reissue is only going to be like maybe $40. It's coming out pretty cheap, which I think is great for the people that can't get a hold of the original version. If you like any kind of deck building game, I highly recommend looking into this one. And that's my counterpoint to what you were going to say, is like, I've never purchased it because the cost of it, right? So the cost is at a place where, that game, Rob owns it, William owns it.
I've been looking for it.
I actually brought it over here.
William has taught it to us.
Yeah, I introduced you guys to the game. You guys loved it.
And I think Robert bought it right after.
Yep.
But I'm not going to go chase it down because that price point is just outside of that. I want to own it.
Now, what's funny is that when it first came out, it didn't get any.
Nope.
And I wanted to talk about that too. That's the point I want to talk about too. But the price point aspect of it is, now with this change, I think it's a pro. It's a pro because now it is a good game. I will buy that copy. I will buy the $40 almost like I see these Kickstarters come out and they're full and expensive. I'll wait for the cheaper retail with less quality components because I want the game, but I don't want all that investment.
Well, the original price was about $40.
Yeah, we were talking like 2016 or something. Like dang near a decade ago. I mean, it's.
Yeah, that's like a lifetime in board games, right?
It is. Nothing lasts that long.
The year here.
Yeah, 2016.
2016, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can't find the original for a decent price, I have no problem buying the new version, even with the chits. I mean, just to have the game and be able to play it. That's that's the main thing.
But I think the biggest detriment is what William was talking about, is because it's D&D licensed, right? It looks almost like a throwaway game, like a IP cash grab.
Yeah, and if you're not into the whole Drizzt thing, with D&D, because it has like that type of character on the cover of it.
Yeah.
If I saw it on the shelf, I'd be kind of like,
I like D&D, but I'm not into that whole drow thing. Right? That's how I felt. I'm into D&D, but I've never done that whole drow thing, the dark elf stuff. So I never gave it a second look.
You would literally have to read pretty much all the Legend of Drizzt books to understand the lore of that, like why you're always backstabbing each other in the game.
So we're talking about a niche within a niche, right? The drow fantasy piece of the niche of Dungeons and Dragons, for anyone to look at that box and say, "Ooh, that looks like a board game I'd buy."
Yeah.
I don't think Rob would have ever gave it a second look.
No, it definitely wasn't up my alley. I'm definitely not a Dungeons and Dragons guy. I'm not an RPG guy at all. So, definitely the case. And I just was going to mention, I guess I'm into rankings, but ratings and rankings and things. But that's a game that I would say is definitely in my top couple, probably most underrated games that I just don't think people talk about enough. People don't play enough. I don't know why, but I know I've seen tons of good reviews of it. Everybody who does a review online on YouTube or whatever seems to like the game. I haven't really seen a bad review of it yet. You just don't see people playing it or talking about it much. But yeah, excellent game. It's a really solid game. And I know, Carlos, we were talking during the call-in show a little bit about games that have a mechanic plus. When we were talking about Dwellings of Eldervale, this is again the classic there. I mean, this is a solid deck building game, but then it adds. How do we call it? Area control. Dudes on a map, war battle. So it's plus. It's got your deck building plus.
And this was before it was all popular,
right?
Good, like 2016, before.
Yep.
It's just I get it. It's in what overall 191.
Yeah.
On BGG, so that's a great spot to be in. Like anybody would be glad to be a Fortune 200 company. So that's like a Fortune 200 game.
Yeah, for sure.
If you look at it business wise.
Yep.
I still think it deserves to be higher than
What's
that.
the ranking or the rating of that on BGG?
7.9.
7.9. Okay. Well,
but after watching Ares Expedition, I don't trust these ratings no more.
Well, not on a newer game, on an older established game like that.
This is one that's been around for a while.
I believe it once the game's been there for a few years.
It's had time to go up and down.
Yeah,
the game will climb up once it gets released again.
I think that second release is going to bring a fresh air to it.
It'll kick it up.
And that makes sense. We should make that a game we get played and record.
Yeah, for sure.
Catch it before it comes out, just like Summoner Wars is starting to release.
The classic version. Yeah.
So that's Tyrants of the Underdark.
Yep.
Yes.
Designed by Peter Lee, Rodney Thompson, Andrew Veen, and published by Gale Force 9.
Yep.
William, you are up next, my friend.
Right.
I'm looking right at you.
Yes, you
I
are.
know you're scaring me, man. I'm going to have to remote right there. So
Quit looking.
most of the guys in this group here play more games than me, mostly due to time, not being able to just, get out to play games, always the scheduling. So everyone here has already played a Legacy game. I have not. So I had a chance to play my first true Legacy game, and that was Betrayal Legacy.
Nice.
I'm on the hype, I think, so far.
You always fight the hype train.
I do. I hate people when they say, "Oh, this game is awesome." It's like, no, it's not. I'm the guy. 12 people can say yes. I'll be like, nope, sorry.
Just to say no.
And I'm going to believe it.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm still going to say no for other things. But the title of the game, Betrayal Legacy, matched the way the mechanics work. Because without giving spoilers, we were questioning ourselves that entire first chapter, whether or not we were actually even playing the game correctly. Mm-hmm. Because, most Legacy games don't have all the rules in them. So we were missing some rules, and we all know we've already played Betrayal before, the regular core version of the game. So we're playing this, and something happened, and
I'm Betrayal House on the Hill, just to clarify that.
Yeah, Betrayal House on the Hill. So something happened, and I never, like I said, never seen it. Carlos takes some cards and he rips them up and he throws it over his shoulder. And he does it again.
like a petty.
He does it again. And if you can see the look on my face, it's just like, I'm going to reach over the table and choke you. What are you doing? So we get to a point in Betrayal Legacy where something happened, and we literally had to go back to the pile of cards that were torn up and question whether or not we did something correctly.
Yeah, after the game, we went back to the pile of cards to see, did we do something wrong?
And it turns out we weren't. And, Michael here can confirm that, because you had that same exact experience with that. And I'm just glad that, because I'm starting to turn into a gamer where I want a story and experience rather than winning. Is what I'm turning. I like.
Welcome to the club. Come on in.
If I want to win a game and punch them in the face, I have Carlos to do that. So, and we have our war games to do that all the time. But if I want to experience a story, then I'm going to play with a certain group of people, and I'm going to start trying to role play a little bit more in the game. And I did in that one.
Oh, we had fun. We definitely did.
I did have fun with that one. I think I shot you in the butt with a crossbow
to kill me.
To kill you.
Right. And okay, so
I even said my character was a child, so I even said, "Hey, I'm going to shoot you in the butt," and you died.
I felt like I was a Lannister sitting on the toilet getting shot by the crossbow. Yes. No spoilers to the Game of Thrones series for those that haven't watched it yet.
Okay, there you go.
I think the time frame on the spoiler alerts have expired.
Yes, exactly.
But I walked away from our game of Betrayal Legacy, right? And we played a lot of good games lately. I got to admit, like after post-vaccine, post game shops opening up again, I feel like we really had a great time playing some good games.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until after Betrayal, I'm laying in bed and thinking, that reminded me why I fell in love with gaming. Because just the feelings that we got out of that.
Reinvigorated that. Yeah.
I'm over here thinking, William's a traitor. But you know what? Yeah, I'm going after William. He's a traitor, but then he's talking to me, and I'm like, "Ooh, see, I usually can tell when William's the traitor."
He's not getting that vibe.
I'm not getting that vibe, so maybe I should stop punching him, and I'm gonna go punch someone else, right? And it created so many emotions in me that it reminded me this is why I fell in love with gaming.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I'll just jump in real quick. I had my first experience outside of I didn't get to get in with you guys, although I'm gonna jump in on future plays of Legacy. I'm gonna hopefully starting with game 2. But I had my first exposure to Betrayal ever. I'm late to Betrayal. I've owned Betrayal for years and have never played it. But they were Dan was doing a teach. Dan and Ben actually were teaching it up at Your Turn last week, and so I went over and got a practice game in. Was my intent so that I could get ready for Legacy. And I played the original, so not the Legacy version of it, but I had a great time. We played a 4-player game, and I ended up being the traitor, and I destroyed everybody pretty quickly once I was the traitor. And I've heard some people say that that's a bit of maybe a flaw in the game sometimes, is that the traitor can be really difficult to beat.
It is.
Okay. Yeah. I know the 3 people that I played with had all played many games of it, and they had said that the traitor has about a 98% win rate when the Betrayal comes up. But it was simpler than I thought, and I guess I should have known from the original being a 2004 release. So it's been out there for a while.
It was dated.
Yeah, it's an early game. So it's what's that, 17 years ago now?
That makes sense now.
Yeah, but it was lighter than I thought. The mechanics were simpler than I thought. I was ready for a decent sized teach, and they told me, "Oh, well, we'll teach this game in 5 minutes." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's definitely simple." I had read the rule book a couple of times and just never gotten it to the table. But it was fun. It was a quick. I think we played in about an hour and we're done. So I had my first experience, and it was a positive experience.
When you say the game is released?
2004.
Well, that's kind of odd, because on the Legacy game, the last date on there is.
That's right.
2004.
Yeah. So the Legacy it's almost like a prequel.
Yeah.
I believe it's set up that way. It is a setup to the actual
I just realized that. Yeah.
There you go. That makes sense.
Oh man, mad props to Rob Daviau.
Yeah, Daviau.
What?
I was looking at the designers. Yeah, the original Legacy, or the original had 5 designers. The Legacy has 4 designers, but they're all different people except Rob Daviau. He's the only one that was on both design
that was
teams.
his thing. He pitched it to Hasbro,
Right,
because they had Avalon Hill at the time.
Yep.
He pitched it to them and got it going. He started Legacy games.
He's the king of Legacy right now. Yeah.
When you guys get into the next few, and I've only played like maybe 3 or 4 scenarios, but when you start getting into the other scenarios, and I mean, I'm not giving anything away.
Yeah.
It's like based around family names and stuff like that. It builds up this history that leads to the
main thing,
Betrayal at House on the Hill. It explains why that game is played like it is, and the Legacy side.
It's got a really good story so far.
Yeah, I know people have really liked it. All the reviews I've seen have been good. Nobody's said it was great. Nobody said it was their favorite game ever, but everybody likes it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, I think Rob's going to join us on the campaign side. I believe he's going to bring
me and my daughter. Yeah.
Yep, join us and bring your families in. We saved you 2 of the families.
Cool. Yep.
So that you 2 can jump in. My son, I initially anticipated him being a fill-in. Mm-hmm. But he had so much fun.
Oh yeah, you can stick with
that
it.
He was asking to play it again the next night. Just me, William, and him. I'm like, no, we gotta wait.
Gotta get the group together.
We're gonna get Emmy and Robert together, and we're gonna continue the whole thing together. So that's Betrayal Legacy and Betrayal House on the Hill.
Yep.
Rob Daviau is the designer, Avalon Hill as the publisher. Yep. So it's a great game.
All right, Carlos, your turn.
Yeah, man.
Okay, for me, I mean, I just got to talk about my hotness that I've been just all over, and I'm bringing it up because I love it.
Blood Bowl.
Oh yeah. Him and his Blood Bowl. No,
it's gonna be a Blood Bowl free podcast.
Okay.
Lies, deceptions, Borgalot.
What you got?
For me, it is After the Empire. That's the first game I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I think today's live stream had a lot of conversation about with Dwellings of Eldervale.
There you go. Yeah.
The Worker Placement Plus.
Yeah.
And here's another Worker Placement Plus game. And mad props to my buddy over at Board Game Battles, Mitchell from New Iberia.
You can't pronounce his last name, can you? Prudhomme.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah. That's French. Prudhomme.
Yeah. No. He sent me a copy of it. I mean, that was mad props. Like,
yeah, just out of the blue. It just did he give you any idea that it was coming, or it just showed up? Yeah,
because Mitchell was coming to visit Tampa, and he was going to make that a summer vacation stay. That's how we got to meet him in person, play games. He asked me for my address, so I figured, okay, he's just trying to get an idea of the Tampa area. And my wife's like, a package came here. And I'm like, I do not remember. I'm like, I didn't buy nothing. Hands up, don't shoot.
Not me. Not my fault.
I didn't buy nothing.
Your heart skips that beat. You're like, oh,
what did I buy? Not forget about.
Because I try to plan my package drop-offs to be here to pick it up, put it away before anything happens.
She's in the other room. Yeah.
Right, so I'm like, I didn't do it. And then I open it up, and it was After the Empire. And I got to say, this game... to me it shot up like into my top 10. Like, I don't know where in the top 10, but it's in that top 10.
That's impressive.
I mean, I played it. Let me see here.
A lot.
Getting my BG stats on my plays. And we had 1, 2, 3 plays within a week.
I think each one of us won one game.
Probably. I know I've played it 2 or 3 times now, and I think I won one.
And I played it virtually with Mitchell.
Yeah.
So in After the Empire, you're playing the role of someone who's in charge of a castle, right? So you got a castle in a kingdom where you're doing a worker placement game to get resources necessary like stone and gold and wood and soldiers to man the castle in order to build your little your fiefdom. And you got farms that are going to feed your people, so you got to be able to feed your soldiers. You got to hire mercenaries for defense, all because at the end of each round you're going to have a tower defense game. So I really love the things that I'm seeing with these games where you're doing this worker placement to build stuff up a la Dune, and then there's like another phase
destroy them
where there's combat to see what survives.
Yeah.
So you're doing all that worker placement work to build a castle. Then we go into this phase of tower defense where you're going to flip cards to determine what side of your castle is going to be attacked and by what strength attackers, melee or ranged. And they're going to come. You're going to have a siege weapon is going to come at you, so you're going to flip a siege card. The siege card's going to maybe bring a catapult, and it'll say it's coming from this side, right? So, well, did you stock up and defend that side well enough? Did you upgrade your wood walls to stone walls in order to be able to take the damage from the catapult? All those decisions you made in the first phase are going to come to fruition in the defense phase. And then after everything's torn down, you do it again. And you're going to do that for, I believe it's 5... Is it seven seasons?
7 or 8 rounds. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
7 or 8 seasons of building up your defenses and then getting punched in the face. And each time it's going to increase the number of attackers. And so it gets crazy because towards the end you're flipping cards because you get to when the round begins, you get to see one card of the attackers, the invaders. So you can see, okay, these invaders, these 5 guys are going to come at me from the north. Right, and I can begin to prepare for that. But when the attack comes, now you flip face up 3 other additional cards, and you're like, okay, I made all my defenses for this side. Now they're coming at me from the south. You know, all these other guys. Yep. And a siege card flips open, and look, it's a catapult. It's going to hit me from the west. So it's just like chaos reigns. Walls come tumbling down. It just feels fun.
Yep.
The fear, the anxieties that come with that game. And then the joy of watching your opponent and seeing like their walls falling way worse than yours.
You hope.
Maybe ladders came out during the siege and all of a sudden invaders are inside their castle. And you're like, ha ha.
My personal enjoyment is when, oh no, you get no stone, and then you get angry.
Well, that's the worker placement side
part of it. Yeah.
The worker so tight. It's so
right.
So tight.
This is one of the tightest worker placement boards I think I've ever felt.
Yeah.
Because the very important resources you need, stone, right, and iron, in order to upgrade your castle, there's like one spot. That's it. Like in a 2-player game, one of you's going to get it. In a 3-player game, 2 of you are going to get it. Yep. And in a 4-player game, 3 of you will get it. There will always be one person who can't get to a thing.
Yeah. It reminds me of viticulture again. It's about the tightness of viticulture. Viticulture has that limited spots. There's a few places in viticulture where multiple people can go. Actually, in this one, is there any place in this one where multiple people can go, or just as many people want to?
No,
I don't think so. I think everything's limited.
Everything's limited. Yeah. It is the tightest worker placement board I've seen. Yeah. Based on player count.
Yeah.
Which is fun because it gives me that feeling of I'm making all these tough decisions during the action phase, worker placement phase, and then it feels like it's more of a spectator mode, so I can kind of just sit back and just watch the result.
Yeah.
So 2 different phases there. So I cannot recommend this game enough.
You got the plastic bits too, which is kind of neat. The little walls.
Oh, and the towers the chunky walls that are
plastic.
Chunky plastic wood, chunky plastic stone walls, turrets. So you're upgrading your turrets now. Your turrets can fire 2 different sides.
Yeah.
So you're really trying to build this like offensive defensive situation.
The game is a bit fiddly. I don't want to focus on the negative here. We're talking about good experiences.
Negatives are fine.
But we've got it's got cubes, which is good for me if you don't buy the upgraded version. So cubes are good. Cubes represent your little worker or your fighters and your archers. So that's always a fun thing. But again, placing those, I know we've had a little bit of a talk and a little bit of a disagreement. It's not such a big deal to William, but placing those little cubes and trying to balance, you have to decide of the 4 walls where each cube is going to go, which side they're defending.
A cube represents a soldier or a mercenary.
Right.
So that's where you're putting your defensive forces.
Right. And so you have to divide them and put them on the sides. I've heard some people just kind of push them to one side or the other, but it's kind of cool to stack them up on the walls. But the walls,
because they shoot down.
Yeah. The walls the tops of the walls could have been made better to hold those cubes because they're textured, which is kind of cool. It makes them look better, but those cubes don't sit in there very well. So you kind of wedge them in here and there where you can. But
I just build
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I build like a little cheerleader pyramid with the soldiers. I just put. That's what I said. Oh, and you're the top of the pyramid. There you go, and that's it.
Yeah.
Were you saying so you're saying it's like physically fiddly?
Physically, yeah. It's hard to.
Okay, I thought you were saying gameplay wise because
I'm sorry.
I've only played it once with Dan.
Okay.
And I thought the game, I still need to play it a few more times because I don't like rating a game off of one play because I mean, that's just not fair.
Yeah.
But the one time I played it, I felt like it was a little fiddly gameplay wise
for the walls and stuff. And
just the combat phase, right?
The combat phase is just, if you are not on point, it can be brutal.
It can be punishing,
and your walls are totally taken down, and they're invading your castle. Sometimes it's just a little. During my game, it's a little rough. But.
Second time I played, I had that experience. I got raided early in the game, and then it felt like I think it was the 2 of the next 3 rounds, I just got raided over and over and over again. And you can fall into that where you kind of feel helpless, and it's like I can't do anything. I can't get enough resources back to rebuild everything and hire my people to defend, and they're just going to raid me. I'm not going to be able to do anything about it for the next 2 or 3 rounds. So I felt into that the second time I played.
Yeah, but again, I need to play it a few more times. Yeah,
Mike, you brought it up also more as the fiddliness of the combat rules. Right, trying to figure out the order of operations in combat, because the combat talks about flip all the cards, and then you're going to place invaders on those sides based on how much
and
income
part of
you
the
have.
Game. I get that.
I tell you, after this, it was the 3rd play where I felt like I had it to the point where I didn't have to look at the rules,
player aid,
or the player aid even to walk people through. And it is a detriment to the game because it is harder for everyone to get it. But if one person has it figured out,
runs it,
that person can run it for everyone. Be like, all right, everyone, place your defenders on your walls. Got it. Okay, now we're all going to flip the invader cards. Now, because one person can host the combat portion and run everyone through those steps.
True. Yeah. I would agree.
One of my favorite parts of the game, which we didn't even talk about, is that leader mechanism. That the more money you have, which are also your victory points, the more gold you have, the more invaders will come at you.
Yeah, they're going to attack the most wealthy.
And the siege card will tend to attack and add extra invaders to the person with the most gold.
Yeah,
little catch-up mechanism there.
Thematic, yeah. They're gonna go after the castle with the more gold, yeah.
So it's that balance of how much gold do I want to spend at the end of the round so that Robert is now maybe the gold leader.
And not to get too far into the details, but even each of the cards that you flip, the number of people who attack you is based on the gold that you are on the track. There's different levels. And so
3 tiers.
The first one may be if you have 10 or less gold, you're going to get 2 archers. If you have 11 to 20 gold, you're going to get attacked by 5 archers. If you have 20 plus, you're going to get attacked by 12 archers. So that's an exaggeration, but
right. No, but it works because you think about the accumulation of combat you're dealing with. In the first round, you're only flipping 1 invader card.
Yeah.
And it's based off of that tier system of the 3-tier system of how much people come at you. At the end of the game, you're flipping 4 invader cards and you now have more gold. So you're getting the highest tier of 4.
Yeah.
And that's like when everything goes to heck and you're like, whatever, I'm done. Sack my castle. I don't care.
Yeah. I felt that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's my game that I really enjoyed this last week or so after the Empire. What's cool is our buddy Mitchell from Board Game Battles. One of his recent videos, he had one of the designers on. I can't remember if it was Evan or Ryan, but one of the designers was on with him, and it was a great conversation. A lot of detail about the design theory behind it. The iteration. So if you ever really thought about how does it work to be a designer in the industry, he really just shares a lot of that feeling.
A little the inside, yeah.
And some tips on how to win the game and some information on the upcoming expansion, which will include knights.
Cool.
Knights that you can put in the fields to catch the invaders early.
Yeah, before they can come and burn up your fields. Yeah.
It is a Gray Fox Games. I was a little worried about it, and part of the reason I didn't jump in on the crowdfunding of it.
Not too happy about that, are you?
Right, because Gray Fox goofed up.
Stories. I'm not going to bring the whole podcast
Kickstarter
down.
stuff.
I can tell you stories about Gray Fox,
and I've heard them. So that's when they put out the crowdfunding, I was like, I don't know if I trust them.
Yeah.
But it worked out. I got a copy.
I think they delivered on it, though.
On this one, they did.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll continue left of dealer. That takes us back to Rob.
Make one more trip around the table here. Okay, I'm going to be a little more brief on this one, but I just had another one that I wanted to bring up is I had my second ever experience on another classic game, another 2004 release. This one a Friedman Freeze release. I had a chance to play Power Grid again over at Your Turn. I know Mike's a big fan of Power Grid.
Game.
Yeah, it's such a good game. I learned that game. I played it for the first time over at Armada probably about 2 to 3 years ago.
Brain exploded.
And, yeah. I mean, a lot of people say it's a math game. You know, you're mathing it out, and you are. I mean, it's really you got to calculate your resources to buy your power, in the auction phase, to buy the right kind of power plants so that you can then buy the right kind of resources to power those power plants. Then you got to build your city connections so that you can light up as many cities as you can, because that gives you your turn-to-turn income. And then the last round of the game, I played with Dan and Ben and Gilbert over at Your Turn, and everybody had played it before, I believe, so we weren't teaching anybody for the first time. But Ben had forgotten that the in-game the winner of the game is in the last round after somebody triggers it. In a 4-player game, it was after we had 17. One person had 17 cities, buildings on the map. That triggered the end game. But the winner of the game is the person who, in that last round,
most powered up,
power the most cities. And so Ben was rushing to it. He was trying to get out because he needed to go home. But he rushed up there and he was beating us and building cities the whole time. So he built his 17th and then his 18th city to trigger the end game. But he could only power 12 of them. And it was like, I didn't realize that I actually had to be able to power those. I just thought I had to get that many on the map. And so I ended up sneaking up and coming from behind and getting the win at the end. I was in last place the whole game. In that last round, I had bought my power plants just right so that I had just enough from round to round to round to power everything. So Dan and Gilbert and Ben were getting more income every round than I was. But at that last round, I just timed it out just right that I got to use pretty much all my resources, powered all 17 or 18 of my cities that I needed, and I think I had 18. And I said, Gilbert didn't play that one. I apologize. Gilbert played Betrayal with us, but anyway, I powered 18. Dan powered, I think it was, or Ben powered 17 and Dan powered 16. So it was 1 point difference between the three of us at the end of the game. So like I said, I came from behind that last round to get the win. But
I'm glad that you said that, because I've heard so many people say that game is like, if you're in the lead, it's a runaway game. And I would say most of the games I played, whoever started out ahead usually ended up being the winner. But I'm glad that you said that, because I mean, for somebody to come from last place to actually come back and win the game, that says a lot about that game.
We were close going all the way through, but Ben he was in first almost the whole game, and Dan was in second pretty much the whole game, and I was in last pretty much the whole game. I don't think I passed either one of them until that last round, and then I jumped past both of them, and again, had just planned it out just right. I had just enough to power those and move on, and so I'm excited, a little bit amped up. Dan broke out. He has a box of, I think he's got every expansion map except for one of them. I think he said he was missing one, but all the maps are two-sided. And as anybody who's familiar with Power Grid, every map you play that. So I think he's got 5 or 6 additional boards, which is either 10 or 12 additional maps. And every map in that game has a different mechanic. They either add something or take something away, or make something easier or make something harder. And they're
add cards.
They're all thematic. You have some of them add different cards, different kinds of power, and they're thematic. Like Russia, I guess Russia is completely against garbage power, which is a power that we can use in the United States map. So they take all of the garbage power power plants out of the game at the beginning.
So it's not just a new map, like a new Ticket to Ride map. It's a new map and a new
mechanic. Every time they change one of the major mechanics, and so we got all excited. We pulled them all out. We read the rules. Each one for each of the maps is just like one paragraph that changes the rules. And so we read all 12, I think it was 12 new maps. We read through all of them just because it was kind of cool. We what does this one do? What does this one do? So we read through each one of them. Now I'm psyched to go play each of these expansions. So I'll never have enough time to do it, but I'm dying to break some of them out. I know you mentioned, Mike, Australia. Usually most of the maps, it's one big grid and you start somewhere and then you can branch out. You have options to go pretty much anywhere. Australia, because of the way their power is set up, most of their civilization and cities, big cities, is on one coast. And so all the way down one coast is one long connection that you can build on. Then there's a couple of cities right in the middle that are just connected, that aren't connected to anything on either side. And then on the other coast, there's another, just a small string of cities. And you have to pay
spread out,
extra to jump from one to the other. You got to pay extra costs and extra resources. So you can go on the eastern coast and go up and down the coast. But then once that's maxed out, everybody's competing there and that fills up. If you want to jump over and start going to Central Australia.
Are you prepared for it financially for that extra cost?
You're going to have the big cost to go and start establishing in a new area. So it's really cool. Japan has a really cool mechanic they had in Japan. South Africa has a really cool mechanic that they had for South Africa. I won't get into all those details, but it's it got me excited to jump back into an old classic game. So
you're talking 2004, right?
Yeah, that's an old game. Yeah, 17 years again. Yep, that's a little while back.
I've never had a bad experience playing Power Grid, and you know me.
Yeah.
These mathy games are not my thing.
Yeah, balancing your checkbook, right? Yeah,
but it feels good when you can combine mechanics with theme.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm running a power system.
Yeah, these new maps are thematic. Yeah.
Plus the auctioning that's in the beginning of each round, like how it goes around the table and, outbidding other people. And you can risk it by, trying to hold out to be the last person. Then you can get that last power grid
for
not power grid, but the power plant for real cheap,
right.
It's a great game.
Yeah, it's a fun one. So I'm looking forward to playing some more Power Grids. It was the second time I'd ever played, but solid game. Not a top 5 all-time game, but it's a game I'll pretty much always play if somebody recommends it. So yeah, fun game.
Never had a bad experience with it.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Plus, I'm sure that since you played there, they broke out the iron clays to play with.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The paper money.
Dan had the iron clays. Yeah, we use those for just about everything now. I know Carlos uses them for brass. We use them at your house for brass. So those are a staple now. Yep. So that's
Friedman Freeze Power Grid.
Power Grid. Yep. What's next for you, Mike?
Next game on my list, also played at the same time that I played Tyrants of the Underdark, was Fantastic Factories by Deepwater Games.
Now you got to tell me about this one because I'm not familiar with this one.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is.
I think this could be up your alley. So it's card drafting, dice rolling, and dice placement, depending on what you roll. You have hand management. You're also building up kind of like a little bit of an engine. So the whole point is you're building these factories and monuments to gain victory points, and the game ends once you have 10 buildings built, or I think it's 12 goods built. One or the other is going to determine the end of the game. But at the beginning of each round, you're like either drafting blueprints for the buildings that you're going to build, or you are taking in workers to kind of give you an advantage. So there's some workers that might give you a couple extra dice to roll during that round, or you may be able to pull extra blueprints, or there's like these little asymmetrical powers that they kind of give you for that one round. But then it's like you have a hand of blueprints, and then you chuck your dice, and it's like even though everybody's kind of doing their own thing, once it gets to that point, it's all simultaneous, so it doesn't take very long, but it always ends up. And I kind of like games like where you're figuring out what you're going to do, and you're like, okay, well, and everybody at the table does it, but you're just kind of like talking out, okay, well, I'm going to place this one here, and that's going to give me 2 iron, and then I'm going to take that iron, and then I'm going to buy this blueprint, and I'm going to place this over here. And it's just this, you feel, and games have a tendency to do this type of mechanic where you just feel smart at the end of your turn. You're just like, I just created all of this because I chained all these little things together. And it's this very flat artwork. And the artwork is nothing special. And it's just a great game that you can play. You can teach and play it within, 30, 40 minutes easy. And I don't have a copy of it currently, but they just did a Kickstarter for I think a couple of new expansions. And at that point, I just Dan introduced me to it. We learned it a long time ago, and we ended up playing it recently. And it's just a great game. It's just a fun game, and it's light. It's not like this theme wise. It's also light, and it is a little bit of a thematic game and it's kind of quirky, where you have like a gymnasium that you can build, and it allow you to bump up your die, like 1 pip, from a roll that you had, or it's just a lot of this chaining things together, which I just love doing in games.
Have you played Gizmos?
I have not, but it's on my list of games I want to play.
I've kind of heard it maybe compared a little bit to a little more complicated, a little more gamier version of Gizmos. So yeah,
where Gizmos is about a 30 to 45 minute play experience.
Yep.
This one on Board Game Geek is talking about a 45 to 60 minute experience.
Yep.
A little more little longer, but combo-tastic.
Yeah,
is what it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Gizmos, you're pulling colored balls, and then you got Tableau where you're changing them to different colors, and you're cashing them in for different things, and you're building combos, and a lot of cash in this for that to get points, and
it feels good when everything kind of works out. Like
yes,
like wow, look
what I just did.
Look, Ma, no hands.
Yep.
And there's not a lot of downtime because a majority of the gameplay is simultaneous play.
Yeah.
So that also helps.
Oh, that's nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. I've never seen it before. It's my first time looking. You're right. The artwork is flat,
not flashy. No?
Intentionally,
but kind of goofy looking, and the dice are beautifully colorful.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. If we're ever together and we're thinking of something to play, I would definitely break that out with you and teach you how to play. I think it's something that you would pick up very quickly and you would enjoy it.
Yeah. When did that come out, Carlos?
This one is a 2019 release, published by Metafactory Games. Designer is Joseph Chen and Justin Faulkner.
Okay. I know it got buzz when it first came out, but it is one of those games that, for whatever reason, maybe it's because of the
saturation
design or the artwork, and all the games. It was one of those that kind of came out. I heard a bunch of buzz about a month or two, and then it just kind of disappeared. I just didn't hear anything about it. So, but I know there's definitely people who enjoy it. So,
yeah, fun game.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for introducing us to that one.
Yeah.
All right, Willem, it's you. What's your second
my turn?
game?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we had a filler game.
Yeah, this isn't simultaneous play.
Oh, it's not.
No, we have to take turns.
So going on the whole deal with light games, very, very light games, we'll go with my Kickstarter of Dice Miner came in, and I picked it up at your turn. I don't know really why I kickstarted to begin with. Maybe it was just a colorful dice.
Yeah.
And, it was dwarves mining in the mountain. So I needed something. I need something to fill that category. I have either hardcore war games or have RPGs or have dungeon crawls, and I have very few light games in my library.
And this was brand new, right? I mean, you just got the Kickstarter last week or something?
Right.
Yeah.
So it was literally last Saturday. It was it's basically a what do you call it? Asymmetrical game?
Yeah, asymmetrical.
It has asymmetrical powers.
Yep, correct. So you basically will pull dice off the mountain. The game starts off with 20 dice on the mountain. No matter how many players there are, you will pull every die off the mountain. Each one of the dice has a certain face value. Either they're going to give you points or some kind of power in order for you to change dice into points. And those will also tie in with your whatever dwarf you decide to go with. And those also have asymmetrical powers as well on the characters. But it initially turns into, just drafting dice off the mountain, and there's also hate drafting, big time hate drafting in this game. So
I do
dice,
like that.
Yeah, I know, right? The dice
Let the hate flow through you.
and we were doing that a lot.
Yes,
we were doing that quite a bit. But then there's also a mechanic to where, you know what, I'm going to give you a dice because I want to pull two dice that I know you're going to get. So
a back-to-back pull.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So, but every round you keep the same dice you pull, and you just keep building that pool of dice you have. So your points initially start off slow, and then they get potentially larger, and then at the very end they can I think most people just either whoever's in last can either jump into first quickly if you're not a keen on what they're doing in there. I think it's how I won our last game. You guys were all getting all the point values with the tunnel dice, and I had all the treasure dice, and I got almost 24 points just from one particular set of dice in the game. So I like it. Enjoy colorful dice. I like to roll dice. I don't think Rob liked it too much. He's like rolling dice.
It's not bad. Yeah, Carlos mentioned before we even started, he's like, this may not be your type of game because there is a fair amount of luck. There is luck mitigation in it. There are certain dice and certain things you can do to re-roll some dice. But at the end of the day, I can re-roll dice over and over and over, and it's not likely that they're going to give me what I need. And that's just a me thing, unfortunately. So, but yeah, that's just me. I'm not so big on luck. I like to make my own luck if I can. So,
and I will have to say, I don't feel like there's a lot of luck during the game because the only time the dice are rolled are when they're added to the pyramid-shaped dice mountain, right? And then twice you're going to roll your dice that you have to set you up for the next round. That's the only time they're rolled. So the dice are effectively rolled and set into place. So now we have a system that we're going to have to play out of. How do we make this system do what we want it to do?
When you roll those dice, there's not a whole lot of ways to change those. I know you do have the gems or whatever that allow you to do some re-rolls. But again, if I roll bad on my come-out roll, on my first roll, I mean, I'm stuck with a lot of those dice trying to figure out how am I going to mitigate
and there's only
that.
two of those in the game.
Right.
The entire game, you only have to do that twice.
It's a quick game.
It could impact you negatively because the half of your starting re-rolls maybe put you in a bad spot.
Yeah.
I get that. But
I come to find out that you're really not picking what you need to get the most points in a particular round. You might be picking what I'm going to make sure that you guys get the least amount.
And that's something I didn't do in the only game I played. I know y'all had played a couple of times, but in my first play, I was too focused on what I was doing, and I wasn't looking at what you two were trying to do because I was just trying to figure out my strategy. So I know.
And I can see that because for me, the biggest plus of this game is that one of the pluses that it reminds me of is Seven Wonders Duel, because it's got that pyramid shape,
Sure.
right? And because it's a mountain, so Michael envisioned a pyramid of dice, right?
Yeah,
and you're only
I've
allowed
seen
to pick
pictures
the
of it. I
top
know
one.
exactly. Yeah,
You're only allowed to pick the top die that's showing because you're actually
Right.
like mining into the mountain. You can't get what's beneath it. When you pull one, now you're going to give somebody more options.
Yeah, then two.
Right. So then so you have to really make decisions on, yes, that's something I want, but I know if I pull that dice, I'm now going to give Robert or William a pull at something they really, really want. And that's that Seven Wonders Duel feeling of, I don't want to get that card because I know I'm going to give him that military and he's already pushing hard there. So I really enjoyed that part of Dice Miner.
Sometimes you think you take something you don't want just because you don't want to give somebody else something they want. So
And that's a tactic in the game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The decisions to make. One of the other things I really enjoyed about Dice Miner is the pyramid, the theming of it, or the mountain. We'll call it the mountain, not a pyramid.
Yeah,
it's in a pyramid shape. The intuitiveness of if you're going to dig into a mountain, you can't just grab what's underneath that rock until you get that rock out of the way. So you got to find a way. What order am I going to pull these dice in so that I'm presented with the options I want later? And it kind of matches the theme of digging into a mine.
Yeah.
Well, there's a solo variant which I did play to test it out, and there's a mechanic in there where you're digging them out, and you actually can get trapped in the mountain, as they call it, where you can't even pull any more dice. And the hazard dice are actually,
the cave-in dice.
They're actually, if you get a bad cave-in dice, and you actually have to use your tool dice to remove it off the mountain. So if you don't have any, then you're stuck, and you score your points, and then you go from there, and it breaks it down to rounds. But I guess it's a good way when you play a solo version to get good practice in how to play. I don't think it's going to improve my winning of the game, but I think it's a really good solitaire game. If you got a big pool of dice and just want to play a game, there you go.
It's short and quick, and it's light. I mean, it's a filler game. Again, it's dice, so it's not my favorite thing. But anytime somebody pulled it out, I would jump into a game of it. So, I mean, I wouldn't hesitate to play it, but because I know it's going to be over in 30 minutes, and I can get through it.
I did ask you, though, and you were quick to answer it. It's a quick filler game, like Fantasy Realms. Which would you rather play?
He said Fantasy Realms.
Oh, yeah, Fantasy Realms. Fantasy Realms. Yeah.
I mean, yes, dice equals luck, but I think it's primarily a drafting game. You are drafting primarily first. Rolling is a mechanic.
Sure.
Is what I believe.
Which makes the replayability better because each game will be different.
Correct.
So that's Dice Miner, designed by Joshua DeBonis and Nikola Risteski, published by Atlas Games. It's a recent, 2021, just now released.
What was the rating?
Kickstarter. Well, it's
Well, it's
early.
brand new,
It's
so,
rated as 7.7. There's not a lot of ratings. It's 57 ratings.
Everything seems to start around an 8, and then it either goes up a little bit or down a little bit when a new Kickstarter comes out. But yeah,
and the weight is at the 2, which is I agree.
Yeah, it is
It's in that
super
low,
light.
lightweight.
yeah. All right, Carlos.
I'll wrap us up on this segment here with Night of the Living Dead. The reason I bring it up is because I'm currently editing our playthrough of Night of the Living Dead. Now,
Awesome.
I've played. Okay, so Night of the Living Dead is a Zombicide game, flat out. It's a Zombicide. It's Zombicide. It's Zombicide with the theme of Night of the Living Dead from George A. Romero, the movie.
You got it right.
Yeah, I did saw that.
Not our Romero.
Not George R. Martin.
George A. Romero. Yeah.
And it's Zombicide, but it's Zombicide probably at the easiest level of Zombicide.
Streamlined.
The most streamlined version of Zombicide I've ever
Would you
seen.
call it like My Little Zombicide?
My Little Zombicide.
My Little Zombicide, yes.
You can see that like at the toy store with the kids.
Right.
You know, eat little brains. But we did, I played maybe 5 or 6 scenarios with them myself.
Yeah.
But we're restarting it as this group here, and we're just going to run through scenarios and post them up on the board for y'all. I can't talk highly enough of this version of Zombicide because of the simplicity. It allows you to really just let the rules fall away and you enjoy the fight of trying to just survive the horde of zombies. Right? You're not even trying to kill them. You're just trying to barricade the house, like in the movie. If you haven't seen it yet, from the 60s.
Yeah, I think we've lifted the spoiler alert on that one.
Yeah, that spoiler alert has been lifted. You're trying to barricade the house to keep the zombies out so you can survive as long as you can. And it just gives good feels. Like the tactical challenges in there of how do we keep them out of the house? How do we stay alive? Who's going to do what? And you'll see in the video, there's so many times where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then we have a little conversation in there about, well, what if you did it this way and in this order and then maybe left that there?
Yeah.
Then I can use that to really boost up my next turn. But then we draw a card and a relative shows up.
Everything changes
inside the house, and now you got your daughter Karen, who's a zombie in your living room. So all your plans get thrown in the muck.
Yeah.
Zombicide, Night of the Living Dead. That was one of the games I wanted to highlight that we played lately.
Yeah, and our playthroughs that we're going to post up are mistake filled. I mean, we're just playing, so it's again, it's how we play. We just hit camera, we hit go. There's going to be a little bit of editing by Carlos, so we're going to cut it up just a little bit, just to make sure we take out some of the pauses and some of the boring stuff. But
the rules lookups, because there were a couple times
Yeah.
we got to make sure we had the scenario understood well.
Yep. Each scenario is going to be a little different. Each one presents some different rules, a different way to win. So we gotta look back to that every now and again. But yeah, it's just going to be us having fun playing through. We're going to try to play through each of the scenarios. Going to post it up over the next couple of months here. Hopefully, we'll be able to get all those games in, and then hopefully do a little bit more of that on the channel, getting some playthroughs in and some of these kinds of discussions and things. So yeah.
Yep, that's the plan. So that's going to wrap up our segment for games that we've played recently. So stick around for more.
Hey, this is Jamie Stegmeyer from Stonemeyer Games, and you are watching the Beans and Dice Podcast.
Hey folks, welcome back. We're going to finish off this episode with some conversation about games that we've received and purchased. So I'll lead us off. Gosh, one of the most exciting things that I've got is my delivery of Zombicide 2nd Edition with the Washington DZ expansion?
ZC.
ZC.
Zombicide?
Zeta Charlie. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm excited about Zombicide. I think we just talked about my play of Night of the Living Dead, and that really got me ramped up. So I'm glad I bought it. I was worried I wasn't going to be able to find it for a long time, because I know like the last time that the Horde, what is that? The Green Horde?
Green Horde.
Yeah.
I couldn't find that one at a decent price for years after. So I was so glad to see Miniature Market had it. So I picked up a copy of the Zombicide, and I hid it from my wife immediately today.
Nice.
I can see it on the table right now.
Shh.
Shh, don't say anything. It's sitting right there.
Her vision's based on movement.
Yeah. Don't move.
Clever girl.
That it? There you go.
Good call.
Go ahead, Rob.
Okay. I just picked up I wanted to say a classic, but it's not a classic, a 2016 release, Arkham Horror, the card game. So
Nice.
I've played Arkham Horror. Carlos and I played through, I borrowed Muhammad's set. He had the starter set plus, the first 2 or 3 full, I don't know what they call them, stories modes. The first. They have a name for it, but I forget. But anyway, so he had a bunch of stuff. But Carlos and I had played
module. Is that what they use?
Modules.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Now you got me thinking.
Yeah, stories, scenarios, whatever they call them. But in any case, we had played through the first 4, or whatever comes in the original box, and then I had played through with my son and my daughter. My older son and my daughter had played through the same first 4, and we all enjoyed it. Carlos wasn't super excited. By the time we got to the 4th one, I think he fell asleep.
It was after midnight.
Yeah, it was after midnight. We were like 1 a.m. and he kept nodding off.
You cannot judge the quality of a game by if I fell asleep to it.
No, because Carlos has fallen asleep during
Thunder Alley.
Thunder Alley. That was the funniest part.
Wait. So he might like that Panda game.
Oh, Way of the Panda?
Oh.
Yeah. He might like it, but he fell asleep. He can't tell. No. I don't know if he fell asleep during that. I can't remember. But anyway.
He did.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I played through, and then for the last, I'd say year and a half, maybe-ish, I kept kind of casually bringing it up in conversation with some of my gamer friends that I'd like to jump into it and actually give it a real hardcore go and try to get through a bunch of the stories and the scenarios. And everybody was kind of lukewarm on it. People were like, oh, yeah, we'll try that. We'll do that. But nobody really committed. So finally, just on Amazon, they had their Amazon days. They had it marked down from $45 to $25.
Oh,
and I was like, all right, let's jump into this. I'll buy the starter set for $25. I'll then start buying the packs as I go along. Dan, over at Your Turn, though, as soon as I put out there that I had bought it and I was going to start playing it, Dan said, I have everything that's ever been made for the game, except for like the very last one that they just released. And he said, if you want to go through it, you and I will get together. We're going to blast through it. You use your starter set, the one that I just bought. He goes, but everything after that, we'll just use my stuff here at the game shop. So I'm pretty excited. I'm looking forward to getting that and going with a real gamer, trying to knock that game out. So
wow.
So Arkham
real
Horror.
Gamer.
Yeah, a real gamer.
Yeah.
Not like you.
Other than my daughter.
because none of us stood up and said, I want to run through everything Arkham Horror.
That's what I heard.
My son and daughter is the ones I was talking about, but yeah, I figured it'd be easier with my son and my daughter since they're at home. We could always just do it at home, but
I don't think it hit off well with either of them.
yeah, my daughter liked it. She didn't love it, but she liked it. She's into that noir, that kind of dark.
And Arby was hardcore against it.
Yeah, no, he didn't like it much. He doesn't like any of that. None
Is
of that
it a game
appealed
where
to
she
him,
can beat you in?
Oh, it's cooperative.
It's cooperative.
So, yeah,
Oh,
we're
so
playing
that's
together.
why, yeah,
for sure. That's Arkham Horror. So that's one I just picked up. I'm looking forward to jumping into. How about you, Mike?
Recently, my son got me for Father's Day Undaunted North Africa.
Nice.
Good boy. What a great son.
Yeah, we've been playing Undaunted Normandy. I think I told you guys this. We're about a little, maybe halfway through the scenarios.
Yep.
And I mean, we just really, it's like one of those games that's like the one game that we always play every time we get together, and then we'll play other things, but that one we always play. And yeah, it's just an enjoyable game. I like the mechanics of it. I like even though it's a little bit of dice rolling, it's thematic. You know, you're not going to get a hit with the shot every single time, you know, in real life. So it kind of adds to it, and you get those crazy long shots sometimes with your snipers and stuff. So I heard that North Africa adds, I think, vehicles.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, so I'm excited to finish up Normandy and crack this one open. I haven't even cracked the plastic. I want it to be like an experience for both of us to do at the same time.
You see the upcoming expansion?
Yes.
So they're going to add vehicles to the Normandy game. So now we get like German tanks in France.
Gonna be crazy, man.
It's a good game.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Good son.
So.
What a Father's Day gift.
Yeah.
Did anyone gift you anything, William?
I gift myself. Thank you very much. No, we were just talking about, I got Dice Miner, I said, like sometime last week on a Saturday. I did get final confirmation from Great Fox Game. We were just talking about that earlier for Tortuga $21.99. So that's gonna be that whole, I think, Tyrants of the Underdark feeling. So we'll see how that goes.
Cool.
So it's got that hand management, area control, take that mechanic kind of deal.
Send me a video, like any of the good reviews that you found on it, or good descriptions, because like I have no idea about it. But I'm interested.
It's I usually don't get the games in this group that go under the radar, and that kind of did. So
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
It was out. It was almost 2 years ago now. So it was supposed to come out last year, but we all know why a lot of things didn't come out last year. So that was one thing. And then I also, from Miniature Market, I finally got did the Kickstarter for Zombicide, but I didn't get everything, and I regret it. So I got the rest of it. So I got Fort Hendricks.
Oh, yeah.
So I went and got Zombicide Fort Hendricks expansion because somehow I mistakenly clicked on to get the zombie soldiers, and then I found out when reading you can only use them in Fort Hendricks. So I was like, all right, now I got to get the expansion.
No, see, he set himself up. Like, I'm going to buy the $10 zombie soldier because I know I've now got to buy the $60 expansion. Otherwise, I can't use it.
Hey, well, it looked cool. I got to get it. The minis are great.
An
So that's why.
Yeah.
One of my recent pickups for me has been Mintworks, and I picked up a copy of it. I know it's a little bit older, but I picked up a copy of it over at Your Turn. Dan's got a whole series of those Mint X
He's
games.
got the little tins over there.
Right?
Yeah.
Mintworks, Mint Delivery, Mint. But this one is their worker placement game in 15 minutes or less. I'm happy about this purchase because I've always been a big fan of portable games. I'm huge on games you can put in your pocket, take to the pub, and all the reviews said that Mintworks is just that, a good worker placement game, a good way to introduce people to the worker placement genre, and it's portable. So I'm happy for that
purchase. I keep a Mint game in my work bag, actually.
Oh, cool.
I keep Mint tins in my board games.
Yeah, in your what was it? Which was the game?
For Champions of Midgard.
Champions of Midgard. There you go.
All my components smell like Altoids.
Yeah, little Altoid tins for all his components.
Don't you have the insert for that?
I haven't built the insert yet. I'm working on it.
He owns the insert. Just hasn't put it together.
Gravy, man.
Like a year now I've been having that thing laying around. What else we bought, Rob?
So a part of that Arkham, part of that sale they had over at Amazon for Amazon Days. They had a couple of games slashed on there. I picked up just another little one. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money, but Jaws 2019 release. Lonnie taught me that. He bought it shortly after it came out. It was an exclusive at Target for a short time, and I think he may have picked it up while it was over at Target for the first couple of months. But him and I and my son played that over at Armada, like I say, probably within a few months after it came out, and he was excited about it. Lonnie was excited and just wanted to show it off, I think, and he built it as a family game, and it really is. It's really a light, fun family game, and if you know anything about the movie or anything, you play a couple of different scenes from the movie, and so it jumps from one scene to the next scene. You have like two little phases, and then depending on how you do in one scene, it carries over to the second scene and sets you up for how you go about the second scene. But it's one against all, so it's one person plays Jaws, and then everybody else is playing the characters from the movie, trying to find Jaws and kill Jaws before he destroys them and kills them. So it's a fun little game. Like I say, one against many, and I picked that up. I think it was like $15. Actually, no, I'm sorry, it was $8.99.
Dang,
it was $8.99, part of that Amazon sale. So I was like, for $9, I'm going to pick it up, and it's got a couple of little cool wooden minis in it. So I was like,
I'm glad you bought it because I've been looking at it. I haven't pulled the trigger on it, but since you own it, it's light. You can teach me.
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely bring it over sometime. I'll bring it around to some of the game days because it's a fun little 30, 45-minute game, so it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
The one time I played it, I enjoyed the boat part, which
the second half.
The second part. Yep. Yeah, that's pretty fun. I do like that part.
I like games with phases like that, where like you're doing one thing and then you end up doing something different. I mean, like Biblios, right?
Yeah.
Those kind of feelings. You're playing. You get two games in one.
Yeah, two different
like
games.
BOGO, buy one get one free.
Yeah. So that was my second acquisition. How about you, Mike?
I'm going to do a double shot here because they were both from, well, actually, no, I'm going to do a quick triple shot because they were all,
triple
shot.
Combo.
They were all from the Amazon sale. And it was just the prices. I couldn't pass it up. So Seven Wonders Duel.
Love it. Great game.
You didn't own it already?
No, and I've played it so many times, and it's one of those games that it never goes on sale.
Yeah, and
I was just like, I think it was like $14 or $15. I was like, done deal. Okay. So I picked that up. I picked up Taverns of Tiefenthal.
Yep.
That was on sale for $16.
Wow. Yeah.
I stayed away from all that. I wish I didn't.
That was gone by the time I got on there. That was the one I was really looking for. Yeah.
I picked that up, and then I picked up Copenhagen Roll and Write because you got to have a Roll and Write in there. So
you do, like you and Roll and Write,
all of the Roll and Writes, not a Roll and Write. But
So the only one I haven't played out of those was Taverns, and I've seen I will say I've seen mixed reviews, but from the reviews that I did watch, it seems like a game that I would enjoy. So
in the same group that did Quacks?
Yes.
Yeah,
same exact
right.
group.
Okay,
Yeah.
yep.
All right, so that'll be a fun one for us to get to the table.
Yeah. So triple shot there.
William?
Well, I didn't buy any more board games like you guys did. I bought electronics.
Oh,
Nice.
Okay.
So yeah, same thing. Amazon deal. But then I ended up getting a 55-inch TV.
No, that's a thing.
better to watch Rodney Smith on.
Yeah, how to play.
No, I needed a smart TV in the house, and I didn't have one. I'm gonna cut the cable, just like everyone else wants to do.
Right.
So
Nice.
Looking at.
I would just want a smart TV to watch all the shows. So while,
That makes
while
sense.
everybody was buying board games, I was like, "Here's $1,200."
Yeah.
Right down the right.
Yikes, dude. You're dropping some coin on that TV, man. Nice.
I'm a technology guy, so I was like, I went out and I got I think the third best QLED TV that you can get.
I was
on the
going to say,
market.
if it's a 55-inch that costs $1,200, dude, you're getting into some recent tech then.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a 2021 QLED TV. I mean,
What brand is it?
Well, what brand?
Samsung
Yeah.
Q9
Okay.
Q90A. If you all want to know,
Nice.
it's like the third best rated QLED TV. Yes, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is I'm watching TV and I don't know if I'm really watching TV. It looks weird.
Yeah, or you're living in the TV.
Well, it just I'm like that looks weird. Like even old movies. I just watched Twister the other day and I was like, the grass looks really weird on the
yeah.
screen.
Yeah.
Even though the movies from the 90s.
That's what I got my TV years ago now, but remember when you first came over
Yeah.
and you're like, it looks 3D, everything looks 3D, I can't get over it.
I'm not a big electronics guy. That's not my thing. Like I look for the TV that's like open box on display, half burnt out already for like the lowest price. Like I'll buy that.
So I'm somewhere in the middle. I do all my research. I try to find one of the top couple ones, but
Yes.
then I search around for 6 months until I find the open box one somewhere that somebody returned over at Sam's Club
Nothing
or
wrong
something
with
like
Yeah,
that.
right after Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the best time to buy them.
The thing normally retails for like $1,800.
Oh yeah, good deal.
So I was like,
that's a good deal, man.
I'm gonna go with 12. I had a
I
budget.
don't know. That's a lot of board games I could buy.
Well, that's a lot of
I
money.
mean,
couple
You got
conventions.
33% off, man. How can you beat that?
Yeah.
it was. I was like, I'm gonna pull the trigger on this.
Do it.
And then but it doesn't stop me from buying other board games.
No.
I think out of everybody in the group, I don't have any kids.
Yeah.
So I can do whatever I want.
That saves you a lot of money right
Yeah,
there.
disposable income. Yeah.
I'm gonna go triple shot.
Yeah. Oh, triple.
There they're all connected here. So the first thing I did was I became a Stonemaier champion.
Okay, cool.
Like I never did into
What
that
took you so long, man?
because we had so many champions in our group. So like that whole early access to games was already
this is
covered.
true.
There's always
Yeah.
someone who
Welcome.
can order it, right? Between you, Michael, and Raph, somebody's able to get the stuff on early. But I realized, you know what? I'm supporting it. Well, more importantly, I wanted to purchase some stuff on the website and realize you get a pretty good discount.
Yeah. That's
Well, they
important.
changed that recently. It used to be just like the free shipping, but now he's doing percentages off on the games and a percentage off on the shipping. And it usually ends up being, when you tally the two, it ends up being cheaper than what it used to be. So it's actually a better deal now.
Right, it made sense. So what I got from Stonemaier that came in that I purchased is the Scythe rule book, the hardback rule book.
Yes.
So that's
I
number
was
2.
looking at that like I would not be buying that.
Nope, that's not for me. And I told him that he was talking about that a year ago, and I told him,
Yeah,
I was
I got
like,
it
really?
when it first was released,
You're going to rebuy
yeah.
all those rules? Really? You already own those rules.
It's more
It's
than
not a
just
board
the
game.
rules.
It's board game rules.
That doesn't.
Now I don't sit and watch 55-inch KLD
Yeah.
TVs,
QLD?
Wow.
whatever.
QLED, yeah.
I read rule books to go to sleep. Like that's what I do. Like last night, I fell asleep curled up to Betrayal Legacy, just kind of reading the book. I like reading rules, so that came in, and Jamie Stegmaier sent me a copy of Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig's expansion, Secrets and Soirees.
Nice.
So it's an expansion we're going to have to get to the table at game day.
Cool.
Get it unwrapped, get it played, and get our thoughts on it.
For sure.
So that's my triple shot from Stonemaier Games. I'm a champion. I got a rule book, and I got an expansion that we now have to go review.
Nice combo.
Combo.
All right, my last one. I bought one that I don't know a whole lot about, but I had kept hearing good things about it, and it's called Cantaloupe. Cantaloupe, book number 1, so implying that this will be one of a series to come.
Yes.
Yeah, the first one's entitled Breaking into Prison. And so this is...
when you were done with that, I got to borrow it.
Okay, yeah, it's replayable. So yeah, it's replayable. And I already told Dan he could borrow it too. So this one will make the rounds. But it's by Friedman Findeson. It's not Friedman Fries. I don't know
his cousin.
Yeah, I think there's any kind of relation. But, both German guys, from what I understand. This is a 2020 release, so this one's pretty new. This one came out last year, and the designer or the elevator pitch on it is the 1980s computer point and click classic games that came out from Sierra and all those games where you would click on something and it would give you a little thing, a little text, and your
King's Quest and Space Quest.
Oh man, it reminds me
like
of DOS back in the day.
Yep, exactly. So it's all that kind of stuff. Well, but it's the graphical one, so it's more the point and click where you can point and click around stuff. So going back to DOS, I used to play Zork, and all that was all text and everything.
Nice.
So I mean, that's back in the day. But
Laser Shoot Larry.
Laser Shoot Larry.
Wow, you're gonna go there?
That one's not as family appropriate. But,
I have no idea what we're talking about.
Like King's Quest. You know?
I didn't have a computer like that growing up.
That's off air. That's off air.
Yeah, but this one, it's the old. It's even old technology in the game. You got the old. It's the yellow. Or I'm sorry, the red piece of film, and then a lot of the stuff is a page of stuff where you have to put the film over there. You have to find the number and then put it over it and then read it. But supposedly there's a lot of comedy in this one that if you can try to
really good.
Yeah, you can try to combine weird things, like you can try to combine the key and the cat, and then when you it'll give you a number. You combine the two numbers, the number on the key and the number on the cat, and it'll give you like 148. So then you go in the book and you use the little decoder to look up 148, and it'll say something like, "You idiot! What the hell are you putting a key and a cat together for? Go try again," or something. So it makes fun of you when you try to do ridiculous stuff, but you just combine stuff, and supposedly it's about 4 to 6 hours. You can play 1 to 4, although they say it's really a 1 or 2 player. It's 4 people. There's too many people sitting around not having anything to do.
Yeah, I think it's more of a solo experience type of game,
like a Legacy of Dragonholt type thing.
Yeah, although
you could do it with more people, but it really get through it. It's you and maybe one more.
I've heard 2. Yeah, 2 is good because then you can kind of share the experience. When you have those laughable moments, you can kind of laugh at each other or whatever. So
instead of running into the room to show your wife, look at the joke it made, and then she looks at you weird,
like, what the hell are you talking about? So I'm really looking forward to playing this one. This first one, just a real quick scenario. Supposedly you have recently broken out of prison, or you've gotten released from prison. I think you were legally released, but you're trying to build it. It kind of reminds me of what Ocean's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, however many they have now. But you're trying to pull off a heist. So now you've got a big plan of your next big heist, and you got to put together the group of guys that are going to help you out with it. So the first one is breaking into prison. Supposedly the computer hacker expert that you need on your side is in prison currently, and so this whole game is how you're going to break into prison and then sneak him out of prison. So, and then there'll be a book 2, a book 3, each one. I think
they already have the preview up for book 2 on BGG.
I haven't seen it yet. So all right, I got to play this quick then, so I can pass this around. But yeah, I'm certainly happy. And I wonder, and don't want to get off on sidetracks, but I wonder how the developers and the game designers feel about that, because the game, they do advertise that it is completely replayable. There are some secret envelopes, but they say everything's numbered. You put everything back in order, you put it back in the envelopes, and you can give it to somebody else to experience. Obviously, they want people to buy multiple copies of the game, but then they're freely admitting that this is they designed it where it's a completely resettable and replayable game. But again,
that's just good ethics. That's good, and it gives good vibes on the company, which for us gamers like us, we'll be willing to buy our own copy if you enjoy the first one. Maybe we pass it around, everybody gets a taste of it, they like it, maybe they buy the second one on their own. Maybe. Or I will say I was a little worried about the theme or the story when he talked about your release from prison trying to break back in. I thought you were almost like Brooksy from Shawshank, like you're the old man finally get released and you kind of want to go back.
No, not really, not that line. Yeah,
not that kind of
not that sad.
Yeah,
Brooks was here.
The mental.
Yeah, Brooks was here.
Yeah. So, but again, really looking forward to Cantaloupe. So I'm going to try that out, and then, like I say, if anybody wants to play that, we'll pass that one around and we can share that experience. So
that's cool. I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Mike, you got anything else?
Yeah, I've got a Kickstarter double shot here.
Oh, jeez.
Double shot.
Tell you what, bro.
Man.
This is it for me though. It's just crazy. Most recently that all these games happen. So Space Race, the board game, finally delivered.
Sweet.
Still waiting on the playmat. They had some issues with it, and it was redone, and now they're supposedly already in the States. They're supposed to be arriving pretty soon. But
Cool.
I opened that one up, got it all, sleeved and situated, but I'm looking forward to playing that. And then Mind Management I got in also, which from the previews from the Kickstarter, like all the things that I've watched, everybody was saying like this is the hidden movement game that everybody should be getting. That the way that it plays and the mechanics that it adds, as far as like if because it's all against one, it's that type of, and if depending on which side loses or wins, if you're the losing side, there's like this whole book that kind of opens up with these mini packs of comics inside, but the comics are actually mechanisms that it adds to the game, and it helps you win the next game for the team that lost. So even though it does kind of require the same people playing, you don't have to play with those extra modules. That was the word I was looking for. You don't have to play with the extra modules with the game, but it just it kind of helps you along if you happen to have lost the previous one. But
Sure.
I would definitely say the artwork is not for everybody. It is a little bit out there, but it is based off of the comic book series.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
The comic book series art is exactly like it is in the game.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy hidden movement games. I had Fury of Dracula, and that game just it just drags. And I haven't played too many other ones, but I like the idea of hidden movement games. I like that. So I'm hoping that this one is going to fit that bill. And speaking of hidden movements, I still have that old Escape from the Aliens in Outer Space hidden movement game that I got to get to the
we
table
talked about
too.
playing that one at one point. Yeah, we need to try that.
Yeah, definitely.
Escape from the Aliens in Outer Space. It's got that.
It's an older game.
That black cover with the guy with the open mouth or whatever on it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I gotta say, how meta is it for Mind Management, right? So it's a game based on a comic book, and then you open up little comic books that give you the rules.
Yep.
What a tie-in.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, buy our comics.
Yep. So that's it for me.
All right. Then William's got purchases.
Anything else?
I blew all my money on the TV.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
That was it.
I'll wrap it up with I got some Blood Bowl stuff. So I got the Lizardman pitch, the Lizardman's cards, and the Lizardman dice. So that all came out. Super excited about that. Digitally, I purchased Wingspan on the Switch. Both my kids have the Nintendo Switch.
Cool.
And Patrick had posted up how there was a sale of Wingspan. I had no idea it was even on Switch. So I thought, let me try a different way of playing games, not a tablet, not a computer. And it's kind of nice having a controller, like a dedicated controller to maneuver around for cards instead of having to tap screens or use a mouse. So William described it as like super chill, relaxing. I mean, this thing will put you to sleep with the music.
Oh, yeah.
You can, it originally came out on Steam, and what was great is if you bought a copy of Wingspan, depending on when you got the copy of Wingspan, there was a coupon in there to get the game digitally for 20% off.
I got mine.
So that's what I did.
Open mine up.
And I went and got it, and I played it, and it's very. The digital game is even more thematic than I think sometimes the board game, because it tells you, like, when you put your birds in there and you create this sanctuary, at the end of the game, you can save the sanctuary on the cloud and you can share your bird sanctuary with other players around the world.
That's beautifully implemented.
That's cool.
So you can do that. You also had that music in the background, and it's also voice. It's all the birds that you place on the mat.
Oh.
There's a narrator that describes each bird, what they eat, their habitat, things of that. So it's like you either A, just playing a game, B, watching a documentary, or put yourself to sleep with a lullaby, because that's what's going to end up happening. One of those three things. So
And I'm cool with all three.
Yeah,
Yes.
all three are good.
Yeah, I mean,
I did it because I want to get Wingspan to the table soon. We still haven't opened up Oceania. and Europe.
Oh, just open it up and mix it all in there, man.
Yeah, just show it all.
Do I mix it in like I do with Champions of Midgard? Just that kind of mix
open
in?
the box and
No, don't throw it in. Mix it in.
Just leave it first.
Yeah.
So those are all our purchases. I mean, and you know what? We've gone super long today. Thank you guys for sticking around and like battling through this, because I know it's the first time we've done this. We're kind of catching up on a lot of stuff that we've been wanting to talk about. But I figure if we get a good cadence with this going, it'll reduce how many things we have to talk about, and we can get it into a shorter time span. But I really think our folks that watch, our listeners and viewers on the YouTubes are really going to enjoy the conversations we had. So thank you all for sticking around for this one.
Yep.
For you folks at home, let us know if you're listening. I mean, email us, beansanddice@gmail.com. Make comments on the YouTube if you're watching it on the YouTube medium. If you're a podcaster and you listen,
like and subscribe.
Yep. Make sure you like and leave a comment on your podcast system of choice.
Yep. Podcast.
Right, whatever
YouTube,
that system is.
Whatever
just
it is.
Put a little note in there letting other folks know to check us out. And then maybe email us if you're a listener and let us know that you actually are listening to the podcast so we can interact with the listeners of the show. I really want to focus this show on the audio, the conversation for the podcast, whereas the live call-in show, don't forget to join us on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. On the live call-in show is more of a video medium, which I happen to post on podcasts. So that's us. That's how we game.
Yep.
We're the Beans and Dice podcast. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
And I'm William.
And I'm Mike.
And we're a podcast about how we game. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will catch you all on the next one. Have a good night, everybody.
Happy gaming.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.